Manchester United have formally announced and appointed a new CEO. Omar Berrada has been taken from Manchester City. He comes into United with a stellar background, a CV to die for, having had senior roles at Barcelona, multiple roles at Manchester City, which has helped oversee two of the most successful periods in both of those clubs' history. But what does this mean for Manchester United? How will this help improve things for the Red Devils, for the Man United fans? What will he bring to the club that will see us move forward in the most important area, which is football? Could Manchester City's 115 charges via the Premier League now have an impact on Manchester United moving forward? I want to understand what United fans think. I also want to ascertain the opinions here of rival fans as well. How good a move is this for Manchester United? We're going to delve into all of that this morning. I had some time to reflect on this, really. I was on Twitter last night. I was looking at what people were saying, the challenges from rivals, from City fans, what United fans had to say. And it's a real mixed bag. And I thought I'd go live this morning. We'd take your calls. We'd understand what you think and what you feel. But I want to know your opinions on this. Reading it now, this is a statement from Man United. It says, Man United are pleased to announce the appointment of Omar Berrada as the new CEO. The club is determined to put football and performance on the pitch back at the heart of everything we do. That, for me, is a key component. And although I don't want to allow myself to be gaslit here, I don't want to allow myself to fall down the road of confirmation bias. Anyone who's watched The Terrace long enough knows that my biggest gripe at United for the past 10 years is that winning football matches, being the best football team in the world, has not been at the forefront of our goals. It hasn't been the ultimate aim of the board and of the decision makers at the root and at the core of Old Trafford. He says Omar's appointment represents a first step in that journey. As one of the most experienced football executives at the top of European football, Omar brings a wealth of football and commercial expertise with a proven record of successful leadership and a passion to help lead change across the club. He is currently serving as the Chief Football Operations Officer for Manchester City, for the City Football Group, overseeing 11 clubs across 5 continents. Prior to this, he held senior roles at Barcelona. Now, for me, this is exactly what I have wanted my club to start doing for a decade now. And it's something I want to draw you to. I've seen a lot of people quote my tweets. I've seen a lot of rival fans, a lot of City fans say, but none of you knew who he was. None of you knew who he was just 3 days, just 24 hours ago. None of you knew who he was. Why are you so excited? My first reaction to not knowing who he was that of adulation, ecstasy, excitement. We really shouldn't know who these people are. The chief operating officers at clubs, the CEOs. You might know their names, but we shouldn't know much about them. The reason why I believe the roles that the Ed Woodwards of this world have held at Man United and at multiple other clubs have become quite famous in the last decade is because of Manchester United's failings. So what happens is Ed Woodward became almost as famous as our manager struggling or a star signing. And then we all started taking notice of, well, who does this job at Liverpool? Who does this job at Chelsea? Who does this job at Manchester City? So suddenly we started to understand the names and roles and profiles of these individuals. But we never should have done. We never knew before. No one cared before, really. The only one prior to that really stood out to me was Peter Kenyon. And that's because he left Man United for Chelsea when the Roman era began, and it was huge news because of that. But as a general rule, we don't know who the main people are at these clubs. Rivals especially don't know each other's. For me, not knowing who Omar Berrada is amazing. First and foremost, it's amazing. You then look at his CV, the senior jobs he's held during periods of Barcelona and periods at Manchester City that were absolutely fruitful, where they were the best teams in the world. And the one thing we have been demanding as Manchester United fans for a long time now. We've been demanding it. We've been crying out for it. We've been pushing for it. We've been pushing for it. And that is, we need to try and get the best in class available with a track record and a good CV to boot. And of course, you could argue there are better options in the world for CEO, but are they attainable? Are they gettable? And when you read about Omar, what you find is that he's very well regarded in the game. Multiple clubs in this past 12 months have been trying to take him away from Manchester City. And people ask, well, why would he leave City for Man United? And for me, amongst all the conspiracy theorists, the most obvious answer is what you see in real life, away from football, the real life corporate world. He's at a certain level. He's a chief footballing operations officer at Man City. And the likelihood is for him to progress further to that next level of CEO is probably very difficult at Manchester City, because people in that role are not looking to move on. He's now got the chance to go into a broken club, but a sleeping giant under a new ownership, and demonstrate his expertise, spread his wings in this new role, and further his career. That will be the reason. Of course, he'll be paid handsomely. Of course, there's that. There's probably a part of him, with a real point to prove. Not in a negative way, but I know I could do this job. There was no chance of me moving forward at City. I'm going to go and do it now at Manchester United. And all I really hope that he does is guide and sail the ship in silence. I almost don't want to hear about him. I don't even actually want to hear him talk, per se. I want him to work, not so much in the shadows, but to be the beating heart. To be the beating heart of this club. But you don't notice it all day. We all know that without our heartbeat, the first thing, the heart stops, is the first thing to go. We're gone. But you don't sit there all day thinking about it. What you do when you've got anxiety about your heart, like I have. That's why I'm using it as an example. You just get on with your day. And that is what I want him to be. I want him to be not a standout feature. I want him to be literally the heartbeat of the club. Because the way you are run is the biggest and most key component to success. Of course, Pep Guardiola, it has been the cherry on top of the icing on top of the cake at Manchester City. He is a huge component in why they've won so much. But without the infrastructure, which Omar Berrada, I don't know where that word came from, where Omar was so instrumental in helping to build, without that foundation, Pep wouldn't be able to be this successful. The two things need to coexist. And I'm still skeptical about the Ineos investment. I'm still skeptical about the club moving forward under the Glazers. I'm not going to change my mind overnight. But this is a first step, is imperative. How we are run from the inside out is key. I'm not even that focused on the new players that we buy yet, who the new manager is going to be, until we fix the board, the football decision makers, and we get a plan of action. And bringing someone in like Omar initially is a great move. Now, when it comes to the elephant in the room, is he going to be implemented in Manchester City's 115 charges? Should Manchester City be found guilty? Well, the answer is nobody knows. Sorry to burst your bubble and to be a big anticlimax. No one knows right now. What we do know is that the Times, who are a very credible news outlet here in the United Kingdom and across the world, have stated that, and I'll quote them directly, that Omar did not play any role in the sponsorships and salary deals that have led to Manchester City being charged with 115 alleged rule breaches by the Premier League. So as of right now, that statement has been released. That information has come out that as far as the Times are concerned, there is no indication that Omar is part of that inner circle that's facing a situation under those charges. What I do find very intriguing, what I do find really funny, is suddenly Man City fans are talking as if they're going to be found guilty. What happens to Man United? It's strange that is your first thought here, as opposed to, well, what a great move. We've run the club impeccably. Of course, it's not going to impact Man United because we've done nothing wrong. That's maybe another conversation for another day. But I'm not going to sit here and dwell on that situation as of now. The only information we've had comes from the Times, and that is that there's going to be no implication on Omar. Therefore, there'd be none on Manchester United. But at the same time, I'm not going to go into that with 100% I'm not going to go into that and go, oh, 100% it's a certainty. There's always that possibility. And I believe it's a bridge that we will essentially have to cross in the future should anything come out. But as of right now, I don't think it's worth Manchester United fans stressing themselves about. And there's an interesting comment here from Twisted Bubba, who loves to throw in strange questions. He says, Terry, what is Omar paid to do? It's a very good question. I don't know what he's paid to do at Manchester City. I understand the job title that he's got, but job titles can be misleading. Job titles don't always give you an accurate description of what somebody does per se, especially in the footballing context. We all know what a chief operating officer, a COO, does in a normal business. Okay, so in a normal business, a chief operating officer, if you break it down, they call him a CEO, is someone who oversees the company's sort of daily business operations and the administration. Often the people that run certain sort of compliance departments, regulatory departments, legal departments will feed into the COO. The COO then obviously reports into the CEO and the board and keeps them abreast of all sort of the administration situations that are going on. They normally compile the company financial reports, they implement the business strategies, etc. When you throw the word football in there, you'll find that it will be similar to this within the normal COO suite. However, there'll be fundamental differences because football is included. When it comes to Manchester United, of course, he's coming in as a CEO. So the role, I'm going to really dumb this down here, he's going to be doing a lot of delegating. So his job on the board is going to be to oversee the entirety of the running of the football club on a day-to-day basis. So when it comes to sporting directors, footballing directors, making sure they're doing their jobs properly, he'll oversee the commercial side as well. So everybody that works in the commercial capacity will feed into him. He will literally be the beating heart of the football club. And in my opinion, the most important role, day-to-day, day-in, day-out role at the football club will sit with Omar. So that is what he's been paid to do. And essentially, in a nutshell, his job is going to be to orchestrate the club, to change the culture back to a winning one, and to put winning football matches and winning trophies at the center of all of our decision-making. Everything we do, whether it's a new sponsor, a new signing, the seeds we're laying on the grass, the shading of the walls at the trading ground when we decorate it, every decision has to be, what do we believe is going to make us the best football team in the world? That is what he's being paid to do, in my personal opinion. Terry, I thought you were much more astute when it comes to a coincidence. What Omar wasn't that interested in coming to United until the court case came to light. Well, it's a really interesting conversation. I mean, this is what I would say to you. I understand that challenge there. Why is he leaving now? Does this mean Man City are going to be found guilty? Not necessarily. Multiple people at board level, at coaching level, player level have left Man City since these charges came to light in February 2023. Are they all jumping ship because they think there's a problem? Not in my opinion. It's about furthering your career. Secondly, he rejected multiple other clubs in better situations than Manchester United. There's a big article about this from May 2023. So this isn't someone that's been desperate to jump ship. Also, he's a very wealthy, rich man. He doesn't need to work. He could just leave and distance himself completely. So I think it's a conspiracy theory to suggest he's jumped ship to Man United because of these charges. It's, again, when you look at it logically and you break the situation down, it holds almost zero water at all. I had to research to find out what Omar did at City. And again, that is perfect. That is perfection. That is exactly what you want. When it comes to these people behind, all morning I've been searching for the clip where Gary Neville spoke about the fact that we shouldn't know who these people are as football fans, because if they're doing their job properly, they should be in the background doing a madness, doing brilliant work without us really knowing who they are. Like I said before, I'm someone that suffers with I'm what they call cardiophobic. I'm getting a lot better with it, and my Apple Watch actually has helped me loads. But I thought I had a heart attack just over a year ago, and ever since then, I found it really hard to go through the day without consistently thinking about my heart stopping. As crazy as that sounds, it's true. My brain's in that little area. I was exceedingly struggling with my mental health, just in that area. But if you think about it, as long as your health, the only time you should ever really think about your heart in reality is if you've got a problem with it. Generally, day to day, you should be going about your life not thinking, oh my God, is my heart about to stop? Because trust me, it's debilitating. And that is how I view the running of a football club or the running of most major businesses. The CEO should be the beating heart, but you shouldn't be thinking about it, concerned about it, worried about it, stressing about it every single minute of the day, as we have done with the likes of Woodward for the past 10 years. So for me, not knowing who he is, underpinned by the success of the clubs that he has operated in senior roles at, is massively encouraging. Massively encouraging. Let's have a look at some more of your comments here before we go to some calls. I can't actually pronounce the name of this individual, but I know who he is. My dyslexia, that name kills my dyslexia. Saw talent after he was already wanted by most clubs in the world. That's some nice scouting, bro. Please, I think Ralph saw his potential when he was at Salzburg. Yeah, listen. City have amazing people running their football club, and that is why they are successful. Terry getting excited over businessmen, get excited about football on the pitch. So, David, it's a really great challenge. But you have to understand where I'm coming from. You have to understand, forget everybody else's opinion for a minute. Just focus on what I'm saying. I have stated for 10 years straight, and when it comes to being on camera now, I've been doing this for a long time. I have stated, and Pav's backstage, Pav will come on and back you. He's been calling into the show for years, that having the best in class available, running your football club with great experience and putting football first is what will make us good on the pitch. We could bring in Pep Guardiola as manager, Klopp as his assistant, and take the best players from each Premier League club, put them into a team, and there would still only be mild success with the current way Man United have operated and been run. I believe this because and I've asked this question now for 5 years straight, and I'm yet to be given an example. I'm yet to be given an example. Show me a club at the elite end of sport. Show me a franchise, a club, a team that is run poorly consistently, puts commercial decisions above sporting decisions, who is consistently successful, consistently competitive. There is not one that anybody has presented to me that exists. There isn't one, especially in football. So from my point of view, this is not about, oh my God, we're getting a really good CEO. This is the greatest thing ever, because it's going to have direct impact day one. When we play in the FA Cup next, it's going to make us a better team. No, this again is a great first step into what will be a long journey to fix us. And I've said for many years, sacking a manager alone, so sacking Ten Hag by himself, sacking Jose, selling Pogba, getting rid of Bruno, none of these things in isolation will fix the club. You are laboring under a delusion, and I've been calling Man United fans out for this for years, that say, a better manager would get us to win the league with this squad. No. If we just sell these two players and buy these two, we're cooking. No. How we are run is what is going to fix us. So every Man United fan worth his salt should be excited. However, it's one step. We must remain skeptical. We must challenge. We must metaphorically keep our foot upon the neck of these owners for the time being. This simply has to happen. Has to happen. Has to happen. Pav is here with me now. Matt's here as well. I'm going to bring the ball on to have their say. I want to go to Pav first of all. And I want to go to you first, Pav, because obviously we've been talking about the need for these types of individuals at United for a long time. What's your instant reaction to this appointment of a new CEO?
Mate, we've been talking about this for about 7-8 years, since the days you used to do Fan Park Live. Obviously, we were sold a lie before when the club tried to get a deal with, and it ended up being someone within the club. But now, obviously, a lot of us have been asking for action since Ratcliffe's come in. Like, he's been giving a lot of talk, speaking to people, telling them like he's obviously got all these ideas. He wants to make us powerful again, take us back to the top. And a lot of us just turn around and say, look, we need to see action. You could talk all you like, but look, the action's coming in. Like we're creating a team at the minute. Like I can see what they're doing. You've got the brawns and the power and the brains. We're combining them. We've got Dave Brailsford. You've got Blanc. Now you've got what's his name for Man City? I've literally just gone out of my head. But you've got him coming in, and then you're gonna have, if Murta leaves his post, gets sacked, they're looking at Dan Ashworth or Paul Mitchell, someone of that caliber. We're creating a team, and the last bit of jig of the puzzle that will be left to put in will be a manager capable of taking us back to the glory days, winning titles. So hopefully that all combines and it all comes together. But we've needed this for a long time. Like we throwing money away, spending money on players who don't actually deserve to be at this club. We need to start being smart. We need to start attracting the best players again to come to this club. I've said it for a long time. I think Varane and Casemiro are the last two world-class players that we're going to have at this club for a long time. But having these sort of people coming into this club, making smart decisions, off and on the pitch, it can only be beneficial for us. It's not going to happen overnight, even though someone like me who doesn't have patience would like to see it happen really quick. But I know it's going to take time, and it's going to be hard for me to give it time. But it's the way it's going to be. But I'm happy. We've got someone coming in. He's obviously got a lot of experience. He's been at City. He's turned down jobs. He was supposed to be the next guy to run City, apparently in a year or two, because their current CEO was going to step down. So it's a positive for us. And he's clearly up for the challenge. If he's turned down all these jobs across the world in the NFL, MLS, apparently some other Premier League clubs and European clubs, hopefully he's the guy who's going to change it for us, because he's in command.
Of course. And you only got to go onto LinkedIn and go through his history. Look, he was head of sponsorship at Barcelona from 2004 until 2011. So he had a very senior role there. He obviously learned a lot during the most successful period in that club's history. And then at City, 9 years, head of international business development, director of partnership sales. Then he was a senior VP. Then he went into the chief operating officer role. And look, yes, this guy isn't an ex-superstar player who, sometimes people get really excited about the idea of Van der Sar running the club, because not only has he done a good job running Ajax, but he's obviously got that player background as well. But it's all about who he's going to recruit. And if you look at Barcelona and you look at Manchester City, when it comes to recruiting the sporting directors, the head of recruitment of football, it doesn't really matter to me whether they've been football players in the past, but they tend to pick people with very good track records of helping to build and run and sustain successful teams. And this is where Man United have gone wrong. We had Ed Woodward, and then when he leaves, you just bring in his second in command, essentially, Richard Arnold, and none of them had any experience of creating brilliant teams. So I'm really confident that him as
what you just said then about like ex-footballers going into these positions, a lot of these ex-footballers they actually go back to university, and they study a lot of they go through a lot of like courses or whatever they do. That's when they get into them positions. They go back they study business and whatnot. But there's obviously certain people just get the job because of their name and what they were. But we've got a guy who's literally built City. Like obviously there's going to be allegations. Like I've already seen, like last night I actually went and watched a City stream for the first time in my life. And they say they're not salty, but they're salty for what's happened. They're salty.
Of course they are.
And now they're going to try throw allegations at us because we've took him and things like that.
The irony is, if you're a City fan and you're now saying, yeah, but what if we're guilty? The fact that is your first train of thought tells me you must believe you're guilty. Then, if you believe you're innocent, then just say what is it? The Twisted Bubba here. Twisted Bubba here says, Terry, Omar is a commercial guy by trade and heart, not footballing. But this is the difference. There has to be, when you're the CEO, when you're the chief operating officer, you have to have a commercial stroke corporate head on your shoulders. If you're an ex-pro and you're going to run a football club, you have to have an understanding of that element of the game. It has to exist. But the fact that Omar has done this, similar roles, right? Senior roles at Barca and City, who we both know in the times that he was there, City right now, they put football at the heart of every decision that they make. So that is what we've been asking for, Twisted. So I'm not going to answer any more sort of backhanded questions about this. No Man United fan thinks we have to have a board and senior roles run by purely ex-football players. What we need is people with experience at clubs, experience on their CVs of making brilliant business and footballing decisions, but where the main aim is to become the best footballing team in the world. That is what the likes of myself, Neeks, Pav, and many others have spoken about for the best part of a decade across social media. So to see this first step, for me, is very encouraging, but much, much more needs to happen. Pav, I'll come back to you in a second. I want to see what Matt's got to say as an Arsenal fan looking at this today.
I mean, I think it's a very good appointment. I don't know too much about the person, but if he's jumped ship off Man City, then surely it says they're somewhat heading to being found guilty. Because if they're not guilty, then why move away from City if you're that successful? If you're not guilty. So, I mean, I think it's a fantastic appointment, really.
Matt, I mean, what I will say there, I'm going to defend City here. What do you do for a living?
I'm an IT technician.
Okay, so are you self-employed or do you work for a company?
I work for a company.
Okay, so if you are working there for the next three years, you're ready for a promotion, but there's people in the next job's up and you can't get promoted. If you were to leave to join another company because you can't get promoted internally, what does that mean for your current company? Does that mean they're corrupt? Does that mean they've done something wrong? Or is that just the nature of a working environment?
I think that's just the nature of the working environment in terms of competitiveness.
Yeah,
and
that's
who's better at the job.
I don't think Omar leaving is a sign that Man City are guilty. I personally don't believe that, because if there was a career path for him to move into the CEO role at City, he would have stayed. He's literally leaving because the people above him are going nowhere for the time being.
Can I just say something?
I get that.
If you see a pattern of more people leaving, then you can probably say, obviously, there might be something there. But just because one guy is stepping down and going to a club who's being run like crap, and there was a tweet from this guy, what is it, in 2014? Yeah. Saying,
You've got to delete that tweet.
What are they doing at United? No, he's telling the truth though. Like he said, what are United doing? And this was when this is what I mean. It's like he's probably sitting there looking, look, if I can bring United back to its glory days, this guy will be known. He'll be remembered for a very, very long time. Just as we know how David Gill, what he done for us, like he'll go down as like a legend of what he's done, because how we've been run post like Fergie time, we've been run like crap. And we don't need to explain how bad we've been run. Like we've spent money on stupid players that you don't belong in. Like we basically went down a commercial route, and obviously Twister put in a comment or something about commercial. Without money, you can't do anything anyway. And Richard Arnold was part of that. He was the CEO who got that Snapdragon deal as well. So that's part of what football is, what a CEO does. He has to raise money for the club. But like I said,
the way I see it is it's literally going from a Fiat to like a Ferrari, like in terms of the upgrade of this person to who you originally had. I mean, that's the way I see it.
It's certainly an upgrade here. This is an interesting comment from Lorenzo. It says, Terry, Omar's name is all over the leaked emails, yet the Times wants to say that he was not involved. Could you send me a screenshot? I don't remember seeing his name on those leaked emails. Could you send them to me for us to see? Plus, he was not head of sponsorship at Manchester City. He was head of sponsorship at Barcelona. So that element about your comment is wrong. If you could DM me, Lorenzo, with...
I did hear some of the City guys in that stream. I think like Big Steve and a couple others on it. They were talking about his name was on the leaked emails as well, but I've never really delved into that Man City stuff.
This is the irony of it. I'm seeing City fans say this. At the same time, they've been telling me for a year the leaked emails are fake. They're not real. So what is it? Are the leaked emails real? Or are they not? And if the leaked emails are real, then the least of your concerns is Man United taking Omar. Your concern should be you're playing in the Conference North next year. That's why.
Well,
do you want to know what
I literally just want to see the verdict. That's all I want to see.
Let me just finish, Matt. Let me just finish. This is what adversity does. When adversity strikes, you see true colors come out of people. You see, if someone gets angry and they shout some mad obscenities at someone, that often shows, do you know what I'm saying here? The fact that City fans are defaulting straight to this, with the leaked emails have his name on, they're now telling you they think the emails are real. Otherwise, why would you bring it up? It makes no sense to me. But there we go. Sorry, you were going to say something, Matt. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I just can't wait until this verdict is finally official, really, because it's going to rock so many boats. It's going to be interesting, but it's not going to be for a long time, I don't think.
Yeah. Kay's with us now. What are you saying, bro? You're a Chelsea fan.
Yeah, I'll be honest. There is definitely a high chance that they are guilty because of this, but because he's not the only one that's left. Joe Shields as well, he left as well, and Pep said if there is anything guilty that happens, he will leave as well.
Yeah, but didn't he say that he would stick with them last year or something like that? Like at the end of last year, he said he would stick with them if they were found guilty regardless. Like, I swear he switched his words up.
No, I don't think he said that.
I see some comments in there saying about Omar won't have the same money that City had that City have, and we won't have that United. Obviously, we know that. It's just about spending the money properly.
But that isn't true, though. Man United has spent more money than City in the last 10 years. We
earn more in revenue as well.
This is the irony of money. Whenever I see a rival say, "I can't believe United fans hate the Glazers. Look how much money they spend." It just makes me think: one, either you're really dumb and you lack the capacity to listen, or you're just being salty. We're not moaning about a lack of money to spend. We're predominantly
spending it properly and right,
wasting the money, which in some respects is worse. What's wasting the money? So a father not giving money to feed his children is horrendous, generally speaking. A father with money who wastes it and then doesn't feed his children is even worse, in my opinion, because you had it and you didn't spend it right. So the
only thing that annoys me most with this club is we keep buying these players on credit. Like they've got this little credit facility and we owe 300 mil. That's obviously we're borrowing money to buy players, but that's something that the club needs to change. They need to get this debt down, and we need to be able to have when it comes to January, this January we're screwed. We can't even do a £5 million deal loan for a player at the minute. But stop. We've got to stop spending money like we're doing, players like Anthony. That's something that I'm going to be looking forward to. Is stop paying over the odds for players. We got a guy who's come here. Apparently, he's facilitating deals for Haaland, and he was getting top dollar for the youth players that their City have sold over the last few years as well. So. Because obviously we're selling players for £1 million with a release clause and things like that. I was like, this is a joke.
It's crazy. I just want to say as well, I've been going through some of the pictures while we're talking of these leaked emails. So far, I'm yet to see Omar's name on them. I love this comment here. Remy says, Terry, stop insulting people who have a contrary opinion to you on Man United. You are driven with sentiment rather than facts about your club. It's nonsense because it's not about sentiment. The facts are, we are not, as a whole, complaining about not spending money. We are complaining about wasting the club's money and the debt that the Glazers have lumbered upon the club. They're our two essential gripes, and there's break-offs from that. Very few Man United fans I've ever come across have said, I hate the Glazers because they don't let us spend money on players. That's never been an argument. So when someone says, I can't understand why you're moaning about the Glazers because they spend money on transfers, it's not a difference of an opinion. It's not a contrary of an opinion. It's wrong. And remember, opinions, I keep hearing a lot of people online say opinions can't be wrong. Well, of course, opinions can be wrong because an opinion, let's define opinion right now. Define opinion. It means a view or judgment formed about something, not necessarily based on facts or knowledge. So the fact that people say an opinion can't be wrong is one of the dumbest things you can say in the world. Of course, it can be wrong. When you state that you don't get why Man United fans are unhappy because the Glazers spend money, it says you're not either listening or you lack the ability to comprehend what's being said. Either way, you don't have a place in a debate when you are not talking about what's being framed. When you're not addressing Man United fans' points, you're not involved in the conversation. It's ridiculous. No one has stated we haven't spent money on players. It's the debt and the money they've taken out the club, coupled with a waste. Because if we had owners who hadn't taken 1.6 billion out and that had better people running the club and hadn't wasted 1.2, 1.3 billion, do you understand the financial situation that we would be in? We would more likely have an amazing run squad with a good culture, and we could buy anyone we wanted at any point with zero financial worries ever. We could be in a title race and need a striker and have the money to go and get the best person in the world. We're angry because over 130 years, Man United has built up a fan base that has generated the income for us to be in a position where we never have to worry about money. We can buy anyone we want whenever we want. We can sign anyone and pay them whatever wages we want whenever we want. That is a privilege that we have worked our backsides off to have. The Glazers have taken that away, and on top of that, we still spend big money, but they waste it. That is what we're angry. There is no contrary opinion.
And again, you see this whole.
Yeah. Right, let me just finish. There is no contrary opinion. That is the facts surrounding why we dislike the Glazers. That's the only argument. So that is what you've got to challenge, not. But they spend money on players. Yes, they waste it. That's why we're angry. It's not an argument. Sorry, back to you, Pav.
And people want to know why we hate them, right? Yeah. See this like whole little 25% take of it. The Glazers spent 36 million pounds of the club's money to facilitate that, not out of their own pocket or the money that Ratcliffe was going to pay them. They actually used the club's fund to pay lawyers to facilitate this deal. And you lot want to know why we hate them?
Mate, this is absolutely true. I've got a friend at the minute that's going for a business transaction. He's trying to buy. He works in the building industry and he's buying out his partners. And his partners, essentially now, right at the end of the negotiations, are trying to get the company that essentially that they own together to pay their legal fees. But it basically means if at the end of this transaction, the legal fees are paid by the company, there's almost no working capital left in the business. And my friend, my friend who's partly involved, my brother that's involved, are absolutely fuming because they're like, well, this is just throwing a spanner in the works. We don't want to buy you out and then suddenly have no working capital. And that working capital has been built up over a 7-8 year period. And it's basically their safety net and comfort blanket. And yeah, you're right. Obviously, United are not going to be in destitute situation. But you think that 36 million pounds that's been taken out, that could go a long way to helping us buy a player now when we really need one. And this is what Man United fans, rivals don't understand, and a lot of Man United fans. It's just that type of thing that we're annoyed with. We've got Sai that's backstage. I want to bring in. Sai's a Man City fan, I believe. What are you saying, bro?
I'm good. And you?
Yeah, I'm very well. What's your take on this news today?
Well, I did also talk with a lot of United fans and City fans last night. I think it's a bit cute for United to get Omar. He's been doing great at City, but the point of him jumping ship to avoid any of these alleged breaches is it's bull. I mean, if he wanted to jump ship, he could have done it many times during the last year. He gets big offers all the time. I think he just realized that within the City organization, for him to get another promotion, maybe get to the level where he wants to be, weren't going to happen anytime soon. So when a company like United come and knocks on the door and offers you the CEO position, which is still one of the biggest positions within sport, I just think it's too big an opportunity to turn down. And he doesn't have to uproot his family to go there. And he wanted a new challenge after 13 years in City. So I think it's a big loss for City. I do think we will cope with it. But also I think he will do great at United. I think he's the kind of personnel that you have been needing for many years. So I just think people are overanalyzing it too much and just should be happy about getting a very competent footballing person into the organization. And I don't think that City will go down with losing him. And I do think that United maybe go up a step or two with Omar. So, yeah.
I listen, I could not concur and agree with you more, my friend. I think absolutely right. And it's some Man United fans are, oh, this must mean City are guilty. Ridiculous opinion, in my view. There are City fans who are acting really weird about this. Oh, when we get relegated, you'll be in trouble too now. I don't understand why that would be it. I don't even understand why City fans thinking like that, unless
it's because of the whole Paratici thing with Tottenham, and that's why they keep saying it. But I do hope City do get done for it, because I know you cheated, even if you don't, even if you get away with it. I know deep down you, man, generating money you didn't have. Terry's talking about it a lot, about the Etihad deal and all that, Airways, when they were not even making a profit and things like that. But it is what it is. If you get done, you get done. If you don't, we move on. I just care about what we're going to do in the future now.
Of course, absolutely. And I think it's important to look at. We've got some really some salty comments here. And by the way, I want to say thank you, Tyler Jones, for gifting out memberships today to our viewers. You're an absolute legend. Thank you to everybody that's hit the like button so far as well. Remy here, back again with a good challenge. He says the Glazers have a right to take money out of their investment in the club. So first of all, the first part's correct. They have the right. They certainly have the right to do it. Nobody is denying that they have the right. We don't believe that it's correct. Secondly, they've not invested a penny into Manchester United, so it isn't their investment. So their names are on it, but it isn't their investment, and that's the problem that Man United fans have with the way in which they've done it. He then says, if Man United was so badly run, then why are they one of the biggest clubs in the world today? Again, great challenge. I would say commercially over the last 10 years, we've still been run very, very well. There's no doubt. From a footballing standpoint, which I believe to be the most important at a football club, has been run terribly, which is why we haven't been in a title race for a decade. We've been nowhere near winning a Champions League in the past decade, and we've been laughed at by people like yourself, Remy, for a long time. So, yes, the Glazers have been commercially successful with Manchester United, but this is literally, in this comment where you've tried to act like the Glazers are good, you've proven my point. I want a club to be run where, even though your commercial success is important, it's only important because it is a way of funding and ensuring that the football element is also successful. We have been run with commerciality as our main focus when it should be football. So again, my friend, your comment is literally proving our point. We are still one of the biggest clubs in the world, but we are not.
And do you know the thing? If it was like these people, yeah.
Pat, let me finish my sentence, and I'll come to you. We are one of the biggest clubs in the world still. You're correct, but we are not one of the best teams or clubs in the world, and that is what we want to strive towards. So for me, if you were to sit there and go, have the Glazers done a good financial job with Man United? You could argue to some degree, yes, you could, but I don't personally care about the commercial success if it isn't echoed in the way we play football. So if you look at the way we're performing as a football team, they've done a terrible job. That is why we want them gone. Sorry, Pab, to you, my friend.
And the thing is, people put up comments like that, but if that was your club, I'm guessing there's people here who support various different clubs here. That was your club and your owners were doing that. Yeah, we've had our owners doing this since 2005. We've been moaning about it since 2005. If that was your owners doing it to your club, loading up all that debt, you lot would be in the same position as us, moaning non-stop all these years. And if the Glazers weren't paying the debt, paying the interest on that debt, the banks would have taken the club away from them anyway. It's like, if me or Terry don't pay our mortgage, they will take it away from us. It's as simple as that. It's the only reason why they still got a hold of this club is because they're just paying that interest every year or resetting the debt. It's the only reason why they're still here, because it's a cash cow for them. And since Kieran Maguire's come on this show, he says it all the time. Every time he talks about Man United, they were people ask him questions, and he'll give the same answer because Man United's a cash cow for the Glazers. It's as simple as. It's we've done. Terry said it all the time. Take the money away from them, but obviously we've got too big of a fan base who won't do it, or they won't get together and do that. But obviously we have to just hope Ratcliffe can fully take over the club now.
Yeah, and Maradon makes a point on this. He says, so no Glazer out now, Terry, or was that chat done forever? No, it isn't done forever. I've made my stance very, very clear, and I stand by it. I'm still Glazer out. However, I've not jumped, and go back and look at the videos, I've not jumped on this bandwagon that Sir Jim buying part of the club puts him in bed with the Glazers and makes him one of them. That may be my conclusion, but that's just a hypothesis right now in anger. There's a lot of people that are like, Sir Jim's a scumbag. I don't want him at the club. You go
Yeah,
back
I was one of them.
if you go back to tweets from a lot of these people online before the Qataris were involved, these same men were like bending over backwards, parting their cheeks for Sir Jim to come in and own this football club. My view is very, very simple. I still want the Glazers gone. I am not overly happy that it's going to be done in stages. Where, remember, Sir Jim is the majority shareholder now. He owns 25%. That's going to increase to 29% after his 300 million euro investment comes in. No other person singly has more power at the club than him. Now, some will say the Glazers could clump together and team up against him. True. But there are many of the Glazers that don't agree with each other's way of running the club, and they actually prefer what Sir Jim is doing, which is why Omar has been appointed as an Ineos pick, but multiple people on the Glazer side have also sanctioned it. This is not ideal, but we will still hopefully get them out the football club over the next 2 to 3 to 4 years. What I'm now going to focus on is how well the new people run the football club, because for me, that's important. I think the ship has sailed to force the Glazers out for less money, and it's failed because too many Man United fans have continued to fund the football club. There's nothing more I can do about that. I've spoke about it for over 5 years. I've had my safety, my health, my life to a degree threatened by Man United fans for talking about it. We should have all, in my opinion, boycotted and pulled our money away, sacrificed our own personal wants, and we could have forced them out a long time ago for a lot less money that they would have made. That ship has now sailed. Man United fans, year in, year out, are pumping more and more money into the club. So now what we have to put our faith in is Sir Jim and his team running the club well and forcing them out that way. I will, if Sir Jim and his team are doing good things and we're improving on and off the pitch in how we run and how we perform, I will get behind them in their endeavors to force the Glazers out. Because in the cold, hard light of day, I don't really care who owns us. I want us to be run in a way that I'm proud of and in a way that produces the best football possible on the pitch. And as long as that's being done, I'm happy. I don't care whether the owner's from England, Qatar, or from 36 different nations around the world. It's inconsequential to me. So the Glazer out sentiment from me remains, but we're in this situation now, and we're going to handle this situation in our business. But thanks again, Maradon, for your comment, my friend. I appreciate it.
Yes. So just to your point before about the commercial side of United, did you see Omar's video where he talked about what his like expertise and how he thinks about a football club with the commercial and footballing side? Did you see that video?
Say that again for me, please. Sorry.
Did you see the video Omar did a few years ago about how he sees his expertise within the organization with connecting the commercial side to the footballing side? Did you see that video yet?
Yes, I have seen that video, and it's it was a great listen. It's just that's what I want to hear. Now, obviously, I want to see I want to see it in practice. I want to see it come to fruition. But there we go. Sorry, people should go and watch that video as well. Maradon's back again. Says, Terry, how much change can you make with 25% stake, bro? Well, again, you're not listening. You're being.
Yeah, I've got to go, bro. Have a good stream.
Matt, I think you're being purposefully stupid. And what I mean by that is, yes, he's got 25% right now, but it's going to increase to 29%. But he is still the majority shareholder, which means he has the most power individually at the club. Secondly, in the deal in which he's done, and I'm not sure whether this is on the shareholder agreement, within the sales purchase agreement, whether it's in a combination of the documentation that they'll hold, there's elements that where he gets control. So I know this for a fact. I know this for a fact because I've personally done it. I bought into an estate agency just over a year ago, and I bought 30%. But there's elements of the company that I have 100% control over. That was part of the deal of me investing inside that organization. So that's how it's done, my friend. It's really not something to deep and sort of delve into with much more. There's a great question here from Lynn, who says, Terry, can you answer me this question? Why would astute business people want to come into a shambles of a club like Man United? It isn't for the name because you haven't been a power like you were for years. Does anyone on the panel want to answer that?
Well, the whole point is that you would try to take them back to the top because they were once there. It's the same reason why any new owners would want to come back to Arsenal, would want to go to Chelsea, would want to go even to City, to be honest, to Liverpool, the size of the football club won't change just because they've been bad for a few years. So I just agree with that.
Also, it's a sleeping giant. If Omar turns around United, like he will have cemented his status within the footballing world forever. So I think for people of his caliber, challenges is a big thing, and proving yourself and proving to the world what you can do. So I don't really understand the question. I mean,
I
why
think
wouldn't you take
I
it?
think the fact that you've got Ratcliffe, Blanc, and Dave Brailsford coming in is why we can attract someone like Omar to come here and try to turn things around. Because if it was the Glazers trying to do it, I don't think you would. Because we've seen under the Glazer ownership that we couldn't even attract the likes of like a Klopp or a Pep Guardiola to the club because they know it's a Disney circus here. But making the change and having like some of the best minds in business who they've got loads of sports brands like where it comes to cars, cycling, other football clubs, like people could buy into them because they've had success in other sports. So and we still are like you said, we do still make money commercially, so that money will be there. It's just like you just have to give the power to the right people and let them make the decisions. Like we've had people come in with like one hand tied behind their back all the time. If we give free reign to let these people do what they need to do their job properly, like we should be able to turn the club up, like club back to what it was. Like Liverpool hadn't won a title in 30 years. They made right decisions, got rid of people, brought people in who've made them win UCLs and a Premier League again, and now they're fighting for Premier Leagues again. So it can happen.
No, I agree. Lynn here says, Terry, what makes you think the Glazers are going anywhere? If they had intentions of doing it, they would have sold to real money. I mean, just put this out there. So Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos are not broke. I just want to like, I've seen a lot of people say they're broke billionaires. I don't really understand that. It's the weirdest thing I've ever heard in my life. What I will say is this.
Oh my God. That's funny.
The indication is, and we need, again, as I've said, none of us know the full extent of this deal yet because it hasn't been revealed. There are lots of talks that there is a process over the next 3 to 4 years to slowly buy the Glazers out. Now, if that isn't in place, then yes, fans like me will push more and more for them to go. If there is an operation like that in place, then great, it's fine. Let's wait and see the wood for the trees here as an example. But the fact they've given up 25% has gone to Jim, it's going to increase to 29%. And the conversations around the minds that know in the financial world is that Ineos are going to continue to invest into the football club. That's why we think it. We're not thinking this because we've sat in the pub, had a few beers, and gone, yeah, I think it will happen. Some of the best business minds in the world are suggesting that what they've heard through the grapevine regarding this deal is this is what's going to come. But what you're right is we have to wait to see the wood for the trees. Until then, it's all just hot air, if I'm being honest with you.
But Terry, as well, just for the Lind comment, she said something about real money. If Omar turns it around within 5 or 6 years, the value of the club will have maybe even doubled. If you can turn around the commercial side onto the pitch, which is what Omar is really good at, connecting those two things, which is the problem you have had. You had all the commercial success, but couldn't really connect it to the on the pitch.
Yeah.
They will get way more money if they sell in 5 or 6 years, also just for the inflation going on and everything.
Absolutely. And this is why I think if Jim was smart, which I think he is, what you would do in this circumstance is you would buy in for 1.3 billion, I think it is. And I think you would set up a limits and say, cool, but we're going to run the club in this way and we're going to try and make it great again. But then when you come to sell, you'd almost want to do it in a way where, and this is obviously very doable, because again, I've seen business deals like this where we get first refusal at a particular price. There's we get before selling it externally to others, because what Sir Jim won't want to do is be the guy investing all his time, energy, and money into this for them to sell their shares to another individual that then has more power than him. So I'm sure there is a fail-safe within this deal that gives Sir Jim first refusal. Now, Linda's back again with a very interesting comment saying the Glazers had a chance to sell to Saudi, which is a different ball game to Radcliffe. Now, of course, the country of Saudi Arabia, the royal family, they have more money than Sir Jim. However, this is irrelevant in 2024 football because an owner can only pump in circa £100 million every 3 years towards transfers. They're also limited to how much they can pump in for infrastructure and other areas as well. Manchester United will make the same amount of money whether your owner's Sir Jim Ratcliffe or whether it's a Saudi owner. Man United are that big and have that much income already. It doesn't really change too much. Now, am I against the idea of Saudi owners or Qatari owners? No, absolutely not. The Qatari owners were my personal first choice. But when it comes to Man United, someone as rich as Sir Jim or someone as rich as the Qataris, in my opinion, it amounts to much of a muchness, really, because we're not living in the world of football where an owner can pump in unlimited amounts of money anymore. So if that was the case and no FFP or profit and sustainability existed, then yeah, of course I would want somebody with £1 trillion versus £37 billion. But in the context of where we actually sit, look at the situation with Newcastle. Their owners have more money than all the other owners in the Premier League combined, but they can't spend any money because they're up to their limit. So again, does it really matter in the grand scheme of things? In my personal opinion, no. Matt's here with us, Chelsea fan. What are you saying, Matty boy?
How's it going, Terry? I'm looking forward for you to eventually, hopefully, Sir Jim will prove my super chat right, which was that he's the Trojan horse, and he will be the Trojan horse because he's slowly but surely bringing down the system from within, and it made me laugh how you see all these fans online, and I've seen it on Twitter this morning, that they're saying, "Oh, Radcliffe's broke," and all this, that, and the other. Are you idiots? He's going to bring investors with him. He's a smart guy. He's got wealth. He's got contacts. And United are only going to go up. You know, the Glazers have sucked United out for too long. And I knew in some ways that somebody was going to come in and change it. And people are saying as well, I'm a closeted Man United fan. I'm not. I respect good decisions from rivals because sooner or later it's going to provide healthy and very stern competition. And United are going to be back. I'm telling you. I've been telling you all this before. United will be the dark horses just now. I'm telling you. And when Sir Jim takes over eventually, he'll bring investments and he'll bring United back. His first statement when he took over, I want to win trophies for this club. You know, it shows intention. Shame our owners can't think that way, but it shows intention going forwards.
Matt, can I ask you a question? When you say Trojan horse and bring the system down from within, do you mean that from a perspective of rather than fighting the Glazers and etc., he's almost going to go in, befriend them, kill them with a bit of kindness, but slowly but surely, and he's already started pretty well according to the papers, erode their power and control and just slowly push them out? Is that essentially what you think he's going to do?
That's what I reckon it's going to happen, because let's face it, you know, you need somebody to come in and actually, if they see intent from Radcliffe, they're going to try and push the owners out even further. So let's face it, it's always going to happen. So, you know, and that's probably the best way of going about it, because you weren't going to buy the Glazers out straight away, because they can, as you just said, as you alluded to, they have constant income. Whereas if they force them out and they have somebody to challenge, at least then that way they can get behind the 25% ownership.
Of course, and a lot of the claims. I mean, some people have blamed Sir Jim's part ownership offer as to why the Qataris didn't get the club. But when you actually read the full extent of the stories, there's a lot of talk about a Super League coming in. There's talk about the new TV money in 2 to 3 years' time being even bigger. All of this is going to grow the valuation of the football club. So there is a lot of the talk that the Glazers don't want to walk away now. If you sold Man United today and then in 6 months a version of the Super League came out that's worth 500 million a year in revenue, the value of Man United jumps up by billions and billions and billions of pounds, and they've sold it essentially too cheap. That's one of the reasons why they're holding on more so than the part offer from Sir Jim. I think what Sir Jim has done, I hope what you're saying is right, is clever to go, right, well, I'll buy in now at this point. We'll set in place an option where I get first refusal on your shares at a set price with an upper limit. That way, as you look to sell more, as the valuation grows, whether it's through our success or football growing in valuation in general, we still get to get you out. That is what I think is more likely than the sort of online fan theory of the Qataris were about to get the club, but Sir Jim threw in an offer to keep the Glazers here, and that's why it happened. I think that, for me, is a little bit too sort of Cruella de Vil Disney evil. It just doesn't make sense in a business sense for me.
Even if the share prices do go up, and say like Joe or Abraham don't want to sell, he can still personally go to the other Glazers and just buy their shares off them anyway. He wouldn't need the other two's permission. So eventually, I'm hoping he does get full control because I still won't spend a penny on this club until the Glazers are all gone. Whether it's like 2026 or 2027, that's what I read anyway. But yeah, eventually, the Glazers obviously held out because they know that the share price will go up if Omar could bring success to us on the pitch. 2 years down the line, the share price could be I don't know what Jim Ratcliffe bought it for now. I can't remember what it was, but it could be an extra an extra billion for the Glazers, an extra 2 billion.
And still, if Man United fans want the Glazers to sell, they can still pull money away. It becomes harder now, though, if we start improving on the footballing sense, but we will see. Cedric here says, the caller, I think he's saying Matt, said everything that Michael Knighton said 2 months ago before the Glazers started this, 2 months before they did their strategic review. Now, I remember that conversation. It's very, very true. Look, I want to thank everyone who's tuned in this morning. I really wanted to talk about this last night. I had a bit of a night off, so I was like, I'm not going to jump back on tonight, but I wanted to touch on this decision to see what people think and thought. Pav and Sai, it'd be good to get you on again, Sai. We don't have that many City fans that come on, my friend, so you should drop us your details for the match reactions as well. It'd be good to get some more City voices on the shows. Just drop me a DM or something on Instagram or Twitter, my bro. Obviously, sure. Pav, Matty, we've seen you much. Kay was on as well, and Matty, the other Matt, Arsenal Matt. Thank you all. To everyone who tuned in, thank you. Hit the like and share button. And rival fans, I get you're worried and scared that Man United could be on their way back. I get you're worried and scared. You've got to deal with it. You've got to deal with it. And that's why I'm a little bit excited, but I'm treading with trepidation. With trepidation, is that the right word? I'm treading cautiously anyway. And that's because when I see us do things that I believe have been the root cause of our problems for 10 years, it gets me a little bit excited. Big up, Omar. Welcome to the club. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you all again.